Hello again. This is the fourth video of my How to Transcend Addiction series. So in the previous videos I mentioned how 15 years ago I started experiencing addiction problems. After 5 years I got sick of it and wanted to stop these behaviors that were clearly preventing me from living the life I wanted to live. And so I tried to quit, and turns out I couldn't. It was nowhere near as simple as just quitting. So basically I've spent the last 10 years, it's been my mission to just fully just overcome this just lack of control over these compulsions, over these behaviors, whether it's taking a substance or some other behavior, you know. Quit the behavior, it quickly turns into something else if the root cause isn't dealt with, etc. So it's been a painful 10 years, been very lonely, been very difficult, lots of ups and downs, and so yeah, I've kind of pretty much put together 5 things that must be dealt with in order to not only kick the behavior but stay off it and just have a nice peaceful joyous life of freedom. And so yeah, 5 things that must be dealt with. I talked about in the previous videos. The first one is quitting the behavior, tweaking the mind, making it so that it's easy to quit it and stay off it. The second video, the one I talked about yesterday, was what to do when the cravings come up, how to deal with the cravings. And so today, right now, I'm going to talk about the third element that must be addressed, which is how to make it so cravings don't come up so much in the first place. Make it so they come up in less frequently, and also make it so that if and when they do come up, they are less intense. Make it so they reduce in intensity and strength. So, how to make it so that they don't come up as much and reduce in intensity. So first of all, there's some physical things that we can do. And so essentially the healthier we are, the less we crave. And there is a direct correlation between the amount of mental chatter and distress we experience and also what we put in our body, our food, for example. So one thing that's been very powerful for me is juicing. So not blending up fruit or vegetables, not blending it, but juicing it, so extracting the juice. More specifically, green juice, more specifically organic green juice. So the difference between organic green juice and just green juice is that green juice is a poisoned version of organic green juice. So particularly celery, just pure celery, organic celery juice is hugely just effective in so many ways. Not going to go into details right now, but organic green celery is amazing. Even cabbage is amazing. It's kind of bitter, but it's the feeling I have straight after it is quite incredible. It's like a natural burst of energy. Kind of feels like ecstasy in my stomach at times. Cucumber, all sorts of things, but celery is great. Also exercise. Exercise is just really, through exercise, through moving the body, just getting everything flowing, we're just kind of just activating everything and just empowering ourselves in, every sense of the word. Also, one thing I've noticed that I crave a lot is the day after I've been drinking. So like when I'm hungover, right, I always just get cravings, and I kind of, yeah. And so that's that. And so I mentioned yesterday about addiction. Essentially, addiction is built on what is essentially a result of disconnection with ourselves. Nikki Myers, an addiction recovery teacher and expert, she talks about how addiction is the disease of the lost self. Gabor Mate, also one of the world's addiction experts, he talks about how addiction is the result of a disconnection from the self. So when it's so painful being ourself, we disconnect from ourself. And if you've experienced addiction or are experiencing it, you know any family friends who do, it's basically, addiction is essentially craving comes up, or the powerful or the strong feeling of discomfort, of pain comes up. And what we do is we reach out for something, whether it's, a drink or a smoke or, any other substance, or just a behavior. We reach out in order to suppress the feeling, or to not feel the feeling, or to distract from it, avoid from it, hide it, essentially. And so it's a disconnect. We disconnect. So ways to prevent it in the first place is just to reconnect. My wife's teacher Sharon last week told me that the antidote for addiction is connection. And that might sound kind of like hocus pocus. It's not something you can prove in a laboratory, but that is how it is. So how do we reconnect? One very powerful way is through meditation. So meditating kind of first thing in the morning, like for me, when I wake up, my mind is very active, generally very negative. Just the kind of the patterns are just kind of going around, doing their thing, playing on a loop essentially. The subject might be different, but the underlying feeling is essentially the same pattern. So meditation is essentially just, rather than seeking outwards to try and fix something, we go around, we go inwards, and just really reconnect with our breath, our inner world, get in touch with the feelings, and that way we're less inclined to run away from them automatically when they come up, as if it's like on autopilot, which is the habit. Going inside and just really noticing the thought patterns, noticing the stories, becoming conscious of them, not reacting to them, not taking them seriously, but just becoming aware, redeveloping the awareness, the connection, the relationship. The more we become aware, the more we can catch them as they come up and not react to them, but just recognize them and allow them to pass. Meditation, very powerful. What else is extremely powerful is yoga. So the word yoga literally means union, which is another word for connection, union. So rather than separation, union, coming back together. So the parts of ourselves that are scattered and lost, coming back together, creating a wholeness, a cohesion. Yoga is very, very powerful. Yoga and meditation are essentially the same. When I think of yoga, and people generally think of yoga, it's kind of like stretches and all these kind of postures, and that's a type of yoga, but there's many, many types of yoga, not just all about stretching and that kind of thing. You know what? Yeah, okay. Connection. Also what prevents cravings. So for me, loneliness makes me crave. Not being alone and feeling lonely are very different things. So the feeling of loneliness, that makes me crave. It seems to be a common thing. Just feelings in general, disconnection. In reality, it's impossible to be alone in a universe where all is one, everything is literally one. Separation is an illusion. That's been proven a long time ago by quantum physics. It's impossible to be alone. So, tomorrow we're going to be covering the fourth thing that must be dealt with, addressed to overcome addiction, which is defining and choosing and getting excited about and passionate about a new purpose. So I will see you there.